a partnership with Bremen, our German city partner from the northern part of Germany. And through that partnership, they started asking the questions. What are the challenges you see in your city? And the team came together. Some of the team you saw today, most of the team you saw today. And we started asking the questions, how could we do something differently? So that partnership acted as a catalyst to teach us to look at a different way of doing things. And we started looking at what are the departments that go to the streams within our city. And we had 8 different departments going to these streams. Our city area has grown, but the budget and the staff resources haven't. So what tended to happen? The work on the rivers by the different departments reduced. So we've got stormwater dealing with erosion and flooding issues, parks looking at vegetation control, the environment branch looking at alien vegetation, pollution control looking at pollution, sanitation looking at the broken sewers and blocked sewers, environmental health and vector control looking at management of vectors and environment issues within there. And the roads and stormwater maintenance branch looking at fixing the roads and the culverts that blocked and got damaged. And we said, it's one place we're all going to, how can we do something differently? And it was Mark Tomlinson, one of the champions within our organization with the roads and stormwater maintenance branch that said, well, our mandate is look after culverts, keep them clean and fix the roads. How can we use a resource to address this issue, but address all issues? And he came up with the idea of looking at co-ops within our city. We've got a huge unemployment rate within our city. So how can we utilize those people as a resource to address different mandates? And out of that came the Sishle Velo program. You can see the pictures at the top with the before, the amount of solid waste, the amount of alien vegetation. At the moment now, we're sitting at 80 co-ops. It's about 600 workers. So these are about 8 people per co-op that are now working, but they're not just employed by the city. They've been trained in business skills, trained in health and safety, trained in alien plant removal, trained in how to run a business. And at the moment, my numbers got to change. I've got to change that. It's now sitting at 525, and that's actually through the work that we've done with the CFF. It's 525 kilometers that the city's got under management within our city at the moment. It's about 42 million rand per annum at the moment. They remove solid waste, alien vegetation within the river and 3 meters either side of the river. They also report sewer leaks, and what we've seen where they're clearing aliens, we started to see vegetable gardens come in there. And you can see some of the pictures there at the bottom of what these streams look like. You can go and have a picnic on those streams. So it can be done. But we started to see benefits coming out of this. And I remember having chats with Joe and with the other team members is, how do we capture this? Because it's not just about stopping the culverts blocking. We're seeing so many more benefits. And these are the benefits. Job and business creation. There's more money in the local economy. These people are working close to home, so they're not spending a lot of money on transport. Improved business skills. Some of these co-ops have diversified into other businesses. They are now employing other community members to do the stream cleaning while they are pursuing other business interests. Presence on the stream. I had one lady in KwaMashu say to me, I feel safer because I can see my neighbor. I know who my neighbor is. The people in the stream, we're seeing an advocacy role being played by these co-ops, because now when they see their neighbor throw a black bag over the fence into the stream, they're going knocking on the door and say, don't do that because I've got to pick it up. And it's impacting the river in this way. It's blocking the culverts, which is flooding homes of your neighbors. Rather put it on the street, let the solid waste people pick it up. We've seen reduced criminal activity because large stands of Spanish reed have been removed out of these spaces. There's people on the stream on a daily basis, so people can't hide in there and do things they shouldn't be doing. So it's improving the safety within the community. And improved water. So now our sewer teams are not spending the time looking for the sewer leak or the sewer break, because the teams are reporting exactly where that is. They're spending the time fixing it, so they're far more efficient. So we're seeing an improved water quality. Yes, MC, I did hear what you had to say. We are facing a challenge with the broken sewers that we've got now, but the teams are looking to tackle that too, and how we address those issues. Removal of alien vegetation. We've seen less blockages, less damage to infrastructure. We are actually looking, there's programs through Gary Cullen where they're looking at how we can use the fibers out of the alien vegetation to strengthen products that we're making. There's a whole lot of benefits. I won't go through all that because I'm aware of time. There's also the removal of solid waste. We talked about the port and being the impact that it has on the port with dirty rivers. In 2017, the port closed for 3 days. I asked the port officials, what was the challenge? The waste that you saw in the port, why you had to close it. They said 65% of the material was vegetation, most of it alien vegetation, 35% solid waste. We're seeing a similar blockage extent within our river systems. That picture at the bottom left there is what they're calling an ocean paver. That's broken glass, dirty plastic, and sand that's coming out of the river systems. And this is work that Gary's doing through the EDU unit. Taking a waste product out of the river and making it into a product that can be used. We're working with the university and we're testing it. We've got it now as strong as a concrete paver. These exciting initiatives of closing these loops. This is the benefits that we were seeing, and we were asking the question, how do we need the evidence that we can bring this all together and start upscaling it? Because you can see the bits of color you see there is where we're working. We've still got to cover the whole city, and we need to do that if we want to see the benefits across our whole city. And that's where the CFF comes in. I remember Joe phoning me because for about 2 years we've been saying, we've got to find money, we've got to find money. We need money to capture these benefits, to put the numbers to it. And she phoned me and said, there's the CFF funding, the city's finance facility. Let's put in an application. And so we did. And we're really fortunate. It was a really amazing team that came to visit us, interrogated us, pulled all the information they needed out of us so they could present to their board and we could get a positive decision. And these are the people that are involved with the city's finance facility. So basically, the primary aim is to support the city and to bring in the project, the good in the project, to the fore so that we can make it into a bankable project, so that we can start accessing funding that is available internationally and locally. One of the lines there is capacitating city administration to mobilize and access a broad range of financing instruments. And you see that SPA, Specialist Project Advisor. Well, we were introduced to a really amazing man that came in and took our small thinking and made it big. So that's why we went from stream cleaning to transformative river management. So I want to recognize Shahid for the work that he did in helping us stretch, helping us to aim higher. But it was through this amazing partnership and working with us with the C40 and the team of consultants that they brought into the equation. What we started to do as we started expanding with the CFF work is we realized there were other people working in this space. So we came across the NGO-led conservancy program on the Ella River. And for me, the key thing that came out of this program was there are a lot of good, but the EnviroChamps principle. I met a lady from the community that had been trained up through this program that took the simple issue of the nappies being disposed into the rivers, into our sewer systems, and was able to turn it around with the community to get them to ask the question, how can we stop doing it? And it was as simple as she went to the community and she said, you like eating fish? And they said, yes. And they said, well, you take the nappy and you throw it in the river and it goes down and the fish eat the nappy. And then you eat the fish. And the community said, we don't want to put the nappy in the river. Where can we put it? And it was through that a series of wheelie bins that are now going and expanded across the city in terms of our municipal ablution blocks that are going into these informal settlements. There's also the Durban Green Corridors, which is a Section 67 company that was set up through with city funding that has taken this to another level and leveraged city funds to use and to acquire private funds to maximize the impact that they're having. And we've learned so much. And these role players and a number of others have been the people that have come together and helped us to develop the implementation plan. So the business case project, we came up against an issue that we had to address: land ownership within our city. 51% of our rivers rests in traditional authority land, in the Ngiyama Trust land. Only 23% is on municipal land and 26% is on private land. And this highlights the need for us to have partnerships. The city can't do it all by themselves, partly because of the MMFA, partly because of resources. Sorry, the Municipal Finance Management Act. It prohibits what we can do with public funds on private land. And so out of this came this very busy business case task organogram. We started with the existing Sessions and Velo model, where we had a lot of practical evidence on the ground. And the question, how do we upscale this to more land? And as I said, we started with, it was about 295 kilometers. We're now up to 525, and that's through the numbers that have come out from this work. And that was the business case for the EThekwini operating budget. Then it's how do we bring it into private land and Ngiyama Trust land? And ultimately through to a transformative, where we start linking all the issues from all different land types. And right now, we're excited because we just finished the implementation plan, and now the hard work starts in terms of making this happen. And it's exciting because already we're seeing different role players bringing together the necessary collaboration that will make this vision that we put together in terms of the business case. It's to be resilient to climate change, to create these spaces as valuable spaces which are clean, safe, healthy, useful, and pleasant open spaces, to close the loops, to make waste products into resources, to create jobs and build a green economy, to build communities, to help communities take ownership of this space, to work in partnership with all affected stakeholders, and to impact our city positively as a whole. Oh, my slides have, apologies for that. So in terms of I'm not sure why my slides have gone a bit haywire, but in terms of the municipal land, what's come out of the cost benefit analysis is that for every R1 that we spend on municipal land through this program, we're going to see a benefit, and this is conservative, of R2.60 in municipal and societal benefits. Our avoided costs has only looked at the culverts and road crossings. We haven't looked at the damage to sewers and other municipal infrastructure. So we know these numbers are conservative. 1,500 jobs just on municipal land through this program. And that's not looking at the green economy jobs. If we translate it through into the whole city, for every rand spent, we're going to see R1.80 to R3.40 benefits, in excess of 9,000 jobs. And as I said, these numbers are conservative, and they don't include the additional green economy opportunities. This is exciting because now what the CFF has done is, with these numbers, it's given us a number. And when I talk to a financial person and I quote the numbers, they're excited because I'm talking their language. And it was something we couldn't do before the CFF came on board. So in terms of transformative river governance, it's key that we look at, it's the social interventions, the riverine systems restoration and management, it's the green economy interventions, all within a transformative umbrella, that we're focusing on all the linkages. How do we multiply the impact of the work that we're doing by connecting with all the other sectors? So now comes the April 22 storm, and it hit us, and hit us in a big way. We saw massive damage across our city. This is a picture of a major connector route within Pinetown. The culvert got blocked. Right at the bottom of the picture, you can see the culvert. That canal that you're seeing with sand in is about 4 meters deep. And then it jumped out, took the road out, took those buildings out, which housed a number. But I want you to look at the picture. Look at the amount of vegetation that's in there. We always blamed only the solid waste. I estimate between 80 and 90% of these blockages wouldn't happen if we didn't have the vegetation. Because if you look at the size of the solid waste, it's small enough they would have gone through the culvert easily. So vegetation is one of the issues, and most of it is alien vegetation. This is down in Pingo. you can see the amount of solid waste. But what you're not seeing right up against the bridge is the alien vegetation. This is a 6-meter high bridge on the Msatazana. This picture is taken in the afternoon or the morning after the peak, which happened about 8 o'clock the previous evening. So yes, we saw, there you can see the culvert blocked. What it did, the road jumped out, took the road approaches out, separating communities, cutting out the water mains, the telecommunication cables, electricity cables. This is actually Quarry Road, which they spoke about. And you can see the 2 bridges there that blocked with debris. We were communicating with these through, because of the forecast early warning system and the work that Kathy's done in this community in terms of the community-based early warning. At 8 o'clock, they were still okay. The water was going under the bridge. We had a peak happen just after 8, and it brought all the vegetation down, and it blocked those culverts. And you can see it jumped out to the left and took out, in total 400, but in that one corner there was 60-odd units, dwelling units that were taken out. But because that community was, and we were having communication with them on a regular basis, they were aware of the risk through Kathy's hazard mapping work that the community had developed. We didn't lose a single life to drown. That's the bridge. Again, notice the debris first against the bridge and then the solid waste. So the summary of the problem is alien vegetation grows faster. It's a shallow root system that crowds out the slower growing, deeper rooted indigenous plants. So an increased temperatures through climate change means that it's going to grow quicker. It means more biomass to block culverts. The alien vegetation of the shallow root is ripped out more easily out of the river bank, and that then exposes the river bank to erosion. That then undermines the bigger trees, which get undermined along the sewers, the water main, private property, and all of that infrastructure that's along those rivers. The blockages cause the overtopping and the associated damage to the road service. And we must understand that climate-induced rainfall intensity increases means this is going to happen more often if we don't do something about it. I took this picture. This was actually on the Palmeet River. Upstream of this, using ESA funding, duct had been putting in alien clear. We saw some blockage, but not total blockage like we saw elsewhere. And we talked to the Cecil and Vela. I asked the consultants on the Cecil and Vela, give me a report of what happened. So typical engineers, they went out and took pictures of only where there was damage. And I sent them back because I said, give me the pictures. I said, what about the other culverts? They said, no, there wasn't a problem. So I highlight there were 3 lines here. In the Umlazi area, some areas were fortunate to have minor damage. Certain areas in the south were not massively affected. Areas in Newlands were not massively affected. Those 3 lines mean millions of rands saved. And that's what this system can do. That's what this program can do. And I'm only talking from an engineering point of view, and that's in terms of damage to infrastructure. In terms of damage to private homes and flooding of private homes and a hardship and people not being able to get to work, people not being able to get their children to school, all of those impacts, not having water, not having electricity, are negated through an active program. So there's 4 types of funding needs that we've identified. It's crucial that we address all of these when we are approaching funders. It's the program management that's really key. How do we make all those linkages? The Riverine infrastructure, and some of it's grey and some of it's ecological infrastructure, but it's both need to be addressed. It's the Riverine management services like the Cecil and Vela program. And then the socio-economic capital. That development of leaders within the space, development of champions that are going to drive specific programs. So there's some key learnings that we've got out of this program so far, and we're still learning, is identify the needs linked to department mandates, because then you get buy-in from the different departments. It gives you access to budget. Create a platform for cross-sector engagement. Find a champion. I can't stress this more enough. When I look at what's happened within our city, those programs that are working have a champion driving it, because when you try and do something new in government, you get told, we always used to do it like this. Why are you trying to do something different? And if we're going to approach this and find a solution to this problem, we can't use yesterday's thinking. Link mandates with these open funding sources, start somewhere and create evidence and momentum. It doesn't matter how big the program is, how long it is, how short it is. A start creates momentum in that space. Find funding to capture all benefits. The more benefits you can recognize, the more people you get involved. And that's, sorry, my last point at the bottom there. Look for the opportunities to close the loops. Gary and Economic Development have been brilliant at doing that already, and we see there's lots more coming through. Engage the internal departments, academia, NGOs, businesses, and the private sector. Partnerships is key. What we're really excited about is the Afd funding, and Zoe is talking after me. So part of this program, we did a detailed implementation plan on the Umhlanga River, and now with the Afd funding, we started to now look at the Umhlanga, the Palmeet, and the Umhlatazana rivers to expand this program. This is now starting to take the TRMP work down to on-the-ground scale so that we can start these different programs, start filling in these gaps. So can TRMP change the future? Remember, the river connects us all. And here's a picture that I want to leave with you as we all move forward on the journey. What can we achieve? This is part of the video that I showed you earlier. At the bottom, we have Chesterville, high unemployment, high density, quite a bit of informality and poverty in that area. We've got the Pavilion Shopping Centre, and you've got the Westville Shopping Centre, and you've got Westville, which is medium to high income area. Our history has created separate worlds within our social and physical landscapes. Chesterville is separated from Westville by the N3. But interesting, the river still connects them. Chesterville is full of vibrant, connected people because of the poverty and the challenges they face. Westville is a medium and high income area where people don't know their neighbors. The question is, do these two areas need each other? Yes, they do. What if co-ops formed with unemployed people from the Chesterville area? Co-ops that are employed through a stewardship program supported by the residents and businesses of Westville. The stream is free from alien vegetation and solid waste. The daily activity on the stream and the removal of hiding places chases criminals away. Road culverts don't block and services are not damaged. Blocked sewers are reported and repaired quickly, resulting in improved water quality. Biodiversity is increased as urban streams become resilient to threats of climate change and urban runoff. The residents of Chesterville become valuable to the residents of Westville. The residents of Westville become valuable to the residents of Chesterville. One unity with blurred boundaries. A truly transformative riverine management program. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jeff. That was a real sober and basically now the real work begins. I mean, I remember going, Mr. Mayor, when we had the donation of flood relief assistance in Chesterville, and it was amazing how the water created new paths and damaged infrastructure and people's lives in Chesterville and other parts of the city. I think what you've said is that we can create an environment where there's opportunity for people to earn a living, but more importantly, how we can mitigate against those dangers. I mean, it still kind of concerns me that, you know, growing up in the city, when it rains, it's an African thing that and I'm sure it's in other parts of the world. When it rains, you feel this really good feeling, the smell of fresh rain on the soil, and you know that your plants are going to be happy and things are going to grow. But today, I've been with friends that when it starts raining, they get anxious. and it reminds them of a trauma. And I think we've got to remove that. Rain should not be a time of worry and anxiety. We should harvest it and manage how we take that water and keep it for the future. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much, Jeff. You've given us our marching orders for the next few years. And last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, we have another very important partner in this program. I'd like to introduce to you Zoe Ramandu. I hope I'm saying that correct. And she's the project manager in the Urban Development and Municipalities team of AFD, the French development agency based in Johannesburg. And let's give her a warm Durban welcome. Just the green forward and red back, okay. And that's the pointer.
Thanks. Thank you very much. Thank you very much to all of you. I'm very happy to be here today, even though a little bit intimidated, but and please forgive my French accent. I would like to thank His Worship the Mayor for the warm welcome, and I'm very honored to be asked to speak here today in front of all key representatives for managing this territory and these key issues. So, honorable representative from the province, from the German corporation. I would like to salute my colleague from the Swiss corporation here, and obviously colleagues from EThekwini Municipality. So I work at the French Development Agency. We are based in Johannesburg, but we work all over Southern Africa and South Africa, and I work more specifically with South African municipalities on all issues related with urban development. I would like just to very quickly, because it's really not the point here now to speak about AFD, but just maybe for those of you who don't know who we are and what we do. We are the French International Development Institution. We are a development finance institution. So meaning that we provide support in terms of technical cooperation, but also concessional finance. We exist for about 80 years now, and we are present in many countries, but more importantly, in South Africa, we have a mandate to work with public governments at the national and at the local scale, since local governments have so much important competences to act for development on their territories. So about 21% of our commitments were focused on these issues of urban development. We are a historical partner of EThekwini Municipality. I mean, EThekwini is a historical partner for AFD. It is more true, actually. We've been developing some sectoral dialogue, and we are supporting a few technical cooperation projects, and including obviously this one that we are going to be funding through the C40 Facility. The most recent concessional financing that we provided to the city was to finance the aqueduct project, which meant to increase and improve the capacity for drinking water distribution in the city. And what's very interesting is that part of the financing, so it was a project co-financed through with the DBSA, but part of the whole amount was focused on developing the PALMI concept proof of project. So it represented about 5 million rand, and it's really interesting in terms of AFD, because it's the first time that we actually implemented a project that demonstrated how complementary it is to act on green infrastructure and on grey infrastructure at the same time. Basically. So because as we all know, and as we've been talking about a lot today, Durban is a climate sensitive city, and it's a climate vulnerable city located on a coastline, so vulnerable to to coastal erosion, and as dramatically and tragically also illustrated recently, very sensitive in climate related issues regarding water. So you had terrible flooding very recently, and as paradoxical as it can seem, Durban is also located in a water stress area region. So the point of our project was to develop the capacity for distribution of drinking water, and the part dedicated to soft or green infrastructure is not only very important to help improve resilience to flooding, but it also helps to improve resilience to water stress, because when you clean the river streams from alien vegetation, for instance, then you help improving water quality, which in the end improves the availability of the resource that is going to be necessary to provide drinking water to people. So this specific Palmit proof of concept project was, I think Geoff has spoken about it much better than I ever could, but I was very impressed to learn about all the achievements that were made, specifically regarding green economy and community-based action. And the concept of the eco champs, the champions of ecology, that were people that were living there and whose livelihoods and living conditions were directly impacted by the state of the rivers and the management of the rivers, and how they were empowered to work to earn a living over protecting their own resource, was definitely very, very impressive. And I think this is something that Durban is now, EThekwini and the city of Durban is now internationally acknowledged as very strong in its expertise as per resilience and adaptation to climate change. It was the first African city to release its own climate action plan with the support of the CFF, which I thank also today for organizing this event so greatly. So the reason why it's called the Handover event is because the AFD is going to carry on from all the work that was done through German cooperation and the CFF lately, through a support that is going to be funded through the C40 facility. The C40 facility is a grant project preparation facility that aims at unlocking financing for climate investment and climate resilience in cities. It will be, for this specific project, implemented by the French Development Agency here in EThekwini, but it's not only our project, because the C40 facility is co-funded by SECO, which is the Swiss corporation, and the European Union. The aim of the project, of the facility, is to support the maturation process of projects and bring them to implementation, to actual implementation, through electing the solutions that are the best technical options, and also that will generate the most social and ecological co-benefits. In the case of our project, it's going to be a little bit specific, since it's going to be a very specific project in the framework of the whole facility, because we are going to aim at taking further the work that has been implemented lately, that Geoff and everybody talked about earlier, and the immense work of implementing the Transformative Riverine Management Program. So we are going to fund, more specifically, a study that is going to aim at taking this at the at the smaller scale, and it's a more tailored approach for providing practical planning tools. The whole approach of the TRMP is based on an integrated, very fascinating and so efficient way of doing the work. And so this specific study is going to be focusing on three that are shown on the map that were also in the presentation. To develop in the first phase catchment management partnerships, to have this whole integrated approach of river management at the scale of the catchment. And in the second phase, we're even going to take it further with precinct plans. So as was displayed before, actually most of, or actually a big part of the issues generated through the floods are definitely going to get worse with climate change, but are also a matter of planning. And it was very well explained earlier that you cannot move people from places where they settled because they had nowhere else to settle, because they need to be close to economic centers. But on the other hand, you cannot remove them because where are you going to put them? But on the other hand, you cannot leave them there because it's dangerous. So working together with them to improve their resilience through early warning systems, through working on the stream system upstream to clean the river, to reduce the risk for debris and for flooding, is really a very, very innovative concept that we are glad to keep supporting with the municipality. So I just wanted to finish with the photos. I mean, I think the previous ones were clearer, but this one is a photo that I personally took last time that I came to Durban, which was in May, so right after the terrible floods that had happened, and I was shocked. I think everybody was. I remember it was a month later, and it was still, most of the city was still underwater. I'm so impressed today how clean everything is, and how the recovery has been, how the organization from the municipality to repair infrastructure where it was damaged, clean the places that were badly hit. So this is, yeah, I just wanted to illustrate with this photo that the approach that is led in EThekwini is to take the whole river system as a whole, and the idea of cleaning the stream is going from invasive alien plants, for instance, is going to avoid this kind of blockages that then generating flooding across the bridge. And also, it's a shame I didn't take this picture that day, but because Jeff and Sean took us to this place where they had been working with the local communities for cleaning, and it was absolutely impressive because one side was not cleaned at all because the people didn't have time to attend to it, and where they had been working with the local community, it was impressive. Like everything was all cleaned, all gathered, ready to be collected and removed, and it was really, it was showing how relevant and efficient is this approach. So I would like personally to say that I'm very impressed on the work that is carried on here, and that I'm very glad of being working on this project. So that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Zoe. Ladies and gentlemen, that I know you all had an information overload, right? And I'm sure you got questions. We're not going to have quick Q&A session now. You can ask individual questions over. We're going to have a snack shortly. But just to say that, and I think the real work begins now. And I think Zoe, Sean, and Hastings have kind of given us the marching orders. The political leadership told us, and what the officials have said now, it's kind of amplified what our political leadership the work begins now. And I'm sure there might be some questions, but I'm sure the colleagues would be here so you can ask them. But to say, ladies and gentlemen, I think we've come to the end, and I'd like to really say a very big thank you to His Worship Our Mayor for being with us today and for giving us his blessing to drive this program and his participation in C40. Our MEC, who's been a champion in helping us, working with us in dealing with the challenges of climate change. To our German partners, thank you very much, Christian, and to the French partners, thank you very much. And I would like to also mention the others who are not really represented here. The German government, I think we've acknowledged the Children's Investment Fund Foundation, the UK government, USAID, the Climate Support Program, and AFD, as I said, and the C40 Finance Facility. Really like to thank you all for being on this journey with us, and we look forward to another set of actions that need to be taken now. But just also say a very big thank you to Tumisa and Joe, Sean and Tabile, and we had many meetings to pull all this together. But really, it is an event today. But you know, in participating in that, I realized Shahid was also one of the slave drivers in that team there. They used to drag me into those meetings. But I'd like to salute and respect the colleagues who put this meeting together. To the ICC team for providing, to the communications colleagues and to members of the media who are covering it here today. And I'm sure if there's still some more questions you'd like to ask His Worship, the German colleagues, the MEC. I know the MEC has to go to another commitment shortly. But ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of the session. And I just want to read some little housekeeping for tomorrow. Actually, this is a 2-day program for those of you who have committed for tomorrow's program. But just to say that if you have your parking ticket, please exchange it for a ticket that will allow you to get out of the parking. So you know, we've covered that cost for you. There's a QR code on the back of your name tag. And that will be a link to the Google Docs drive, which has access to some supporting materials, including the preparation for the field trip. So please, the QR code, save us paper. I can go straight onto your phone or your laptop. And lastly, those who have registered for the field trip tomorrow, please, you need to meet at the entrance of the ICC at 8 o'clock. Come with, and I think they mustn't wear too formal clothing because it's a field trip. So don't wear high heel shoes, and men, you don't have to wear a suit, right? So just be a little more comfortable. And so we're meeting at 8 o'clock, but if you're not here by 8:30, the bus is leaving. Okay? So, and we're meeting here at the ICC. Joe, exactly where in the car park? Basement parking at the bottom? On the top there. Oh, okay. At the main entrance at the top, that's where you will meet your transport. And it's a very exciting program put together by the team. And I'm sure what you're hearing here, you'll see in real time tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, thank you very much for your attention. Those of you that need to leave us, I'll understand. You need to miss the traffic, but we'd really like you to stay and have a networking cocktail with us now. Thank you very much for your attention, ladies and gentlemen.